good afternoon, YouTube. Just wanted to just have a story time here regarding hikes. I initially started hiking probably around the age of 13, just hiking from different trails nearby where I lived at in South Carolina. Oftentimes, I would usually hike at least at least 3 to 4 miles at a time. And then leading up to my military days, joined the U.S. Army at the age of 18. Um, from there, we were hiking. We had to do 12-mile ruck marches at least twice a year. And basic training for the most part. We were hiking throughout the whole week. So a typical U.S. soldier, U.S. Army soldier, more than likely hike possibly 10 to 20 miles a week, which is why most people who go in the military, you pretty much will lose a lot of weight throughout because you're pretty much carrying 20 to 40 pounds in your rucksack and pretty much just going place to place with weapon in hand and everything else there. So as I transitioned over to my my unit, once I got to Fort Benning, Georgia, pretty much end up hiking. We ran probably about 4 days a week. Um, the fifth day was pretty much a muscle failure day type deal there, and then that was pretty much it. Even throughout my deployments, about the same way. So from there, uh, then I started going to national parks, probably around the age of about 23, 24. So first national park that I ever went to was Yosemite. Had a good time there. Went to visit Yosemite Falls, saw Half Dome, and a few other trails in that particular day with a couple of my own coworkers. Had a blast. From that moment, I decided that being that I had a role that was pretty much 95% travel. I was going from state to state in the staffing industry, so that gave me the ability to go to different states, but also capture a lot of national parks. So that led me to Utah. I was doing a waste management launch with on the staffing side there, and being in Salt Lake City, you pretty much have a lot of access to a lot of national parks. So my first exposure to another national park was Zion National Park. Zion National Park, up until a couple years ago, was my favorite national park. The reason why is because so many user-friendly trails. A lot of trails that have a lot of views from up top, a lot of views on your way going up the mountain. Then you have a few trails with a lot of scenery with waterfalls and different aspects there. My first um, my first time hiking there, I hiked a lot. I went to the Pirates Trail. I went to Angel's Landing. I did Watchman Trail. I did the Canyon Overlook, the Emerald Pools, the Grotto Trail, and a couple others. So it was a great experience. I believe I ended up doing about 7 trails that particular day. I also didn't know, as being a disabled vet, that I can get a annual pass for free there. Just talking to the park ranger there, so that opened up the door for me to now be able to go to all the national parks from state to state without having to pay for parking or interest fees there. So from that point there, I pretty much did Zion at least twice a year for about 4 or 5 years straight there. As I was still in Utah, that following weekend, I decided to go to the Arches with one of my coworkers and had a blast there too. Had a chance to go to see the Arches, the Delicate Arch, and the Window, and a couple other trails there, and I had a blast. From that moment, I pretty much got in the flow of just continuing to hit up different national parks throughout each year. So that carried me on to Bryce Canyon. Bryce Canyon was one of the most unique experiences that I've ever experienced at a national park because, unlike most national parks, Bryce Canyon starts. You start at the top of the mountain, and then you proceed down to the valley to hit on those trails. So, of course, and just the texture of the gravel and just the dirt, I like. It's very comfortable hiking that Bryce Canyon, and it's the views there were also amazing. A lot of rock sculptures and all that there, and that was an amazing trip. Haven't gone back to Bryce since then, but that's on my list to go back at some point. While I was there, a couple weeks later, I went to Page, Arizona, and went to see went to Horseshoe Bend. Horseshoe Bend was a nice area as well. Just looking down, seeing the horseshoe there. But sometimes people do a tour and be able to actually take the Colorado River on a boat. That was on my list of things, but it was kind of crowded getting there to get there because I also wanted to go to Antelope Canyon as well, but that requires a reservation. So if you ever want to go to Antelope Canyon to check it out, they don't have many reservations throughout each day. So the early bird gets the worm there. So just make sure if you ever want to go to Antelope Canyon that you definitely get a reservation from that. And then from there, I embarked on a 2 week hike um, about 2 years ago, which was something that I never took much time off. Most of the time, at any job I've had, I would take maybe a week off every quarter or something. But I embarked on a huge journey. So within that 2 week span, my goal initially was to go to Zion National Park and then go to Canyonlands. And then from there, go to Yellowstone. Then I was going to do Mount Rushmore, and that was going to be it. But then I started doing a lot of research because I booked this trip weeks ago, and prior to my prior to my flight, a couple days before, I saw a lot of people saying, "Well, maybe a hidden gem by Salt Lake City is Grand Tetons." Grand Tetons is pretty much, if you take the South Gate, you can get to Yellowstone within 50 something miles. So I added that to my itinerary. And then, being that I've haven't gone to Canyonlands before, I decided to instead go to the Grand Canyon. I believe the West Rim because I've been wanting to go to the West Rim for years and never had a chance to go. So I did that. So here's what the itinerary ended up being. I ended up going to Zion National Park. Then I went to Grand Canyon. Then I drove back to Salt Lake City for the night and then drove to Grand Tetons. Then I went to Yellowstone. Then I drove back to Salt Lake City and I added Glacier. Glacier National Park, I saw a lot of good hikers stating that the hues of blue of the water and were nice, and there was a lot of good trails there to hit up. And then I booked the reservation. I booked the flight to Glacier to Cozumel, and then ended up going to Mount Rushmore. But then I didn't know there was another national park that was by Mount Rushmore, which was Badlands. So going to hiking 7 national parks in a 2 week span was a task. Nearly every couple of days, I was actually getting back in my car and driving back to Salt Lake City. Because if you're ever wanting to know, if you ever want to go to, if you ever want to know what airport to fly into, if you want to hit up certain national parks, it all depends where you want to go. I will say this here: Salt Lake City is probably one of the most neutral places that you can fly into to get to a lot of places. So if you fly into Salt Lake City, just north of Salt Lake City, you can get into Grand Tetons and Yellowstone. Um, South of Salt Lake City, you can get to Zion National Park, Bryce Canyon, um, Canyonlands, and I believe it's one more national park too that you can hit up while you're down there. So you can get to a lot of places from there. Some people fly into Las Vegas if they want to. Las Vegas is also you can get to you can get to Zion quicker flying into Las Vegas compared to flying into a Salt Lake City. But if it's a if you're in a conundrum in which you just don't know where to fly into and you got more time in your hands, so if you have like a week or two on your hand, I will fly into Salt Lake City because, again, flying into Salt Lake City, me being a Delta Diamond Medallion member, that's a hub for me. So if I need to fly out of a hub like Salt Lake City, I can pretty much get a direct flight to the next place where I want to go. But at best, you're maybe 2 hours away, north or south, from a lot of national parks. So this to go back to that 2 week hike. I mean 2 week hiking expedition. So of course I've been to Zion several times. So kicking it off with Zion on day one, I did Angels Landing. Stood up there for about 2 or 3 hours, just hanging out up top. They did change up the requirements, so now I think it's been in place a couple of years now, but you do have to get a reservation to be able to climb up. So once you get on the top side of Angels Landing, if you want to go up the rails, you do have to have a reservation. They had a park ranger with a tent right there, so without having a reservation, you cannot even climb up the rails to continue on to Angels Landing. From there, went to do one of my favorite trails, which is the Pirates Trail. Hung out there for a couple hours because you pretty much have to. You got a waterfall there from the Virgin River right there, and just the scenery of the Pirates Trail is quite amazing there. So after a couple days at Zion, I did drive down to the Grand Canyon. So Grand Canyon, to me, if you're someone who's afraid of heights, may not be the place to go. I'm someone that's not quite afraid of heights. I like challenges and everything, but oftentimes if I get to the point at which I'm teetering on the edge of something, I may get nervous. So, because at the Grand Canyon, I believe I was at the West Rim, climbing up and going on certain trails. It drop offs everywhere at the Grand Canyon. So, but they do have a lot of user friendly places in which platforms you can walk up and get good scenery for it. Some are more secure than others, but I had a blast just sitting there at the Grand Canyon. It was pretty much a day trip for me. I was only there for maybe 2 or 3 hours. I just felt being that it was closer to Zion, and I added it to my itinerary. I was just gonna go there for a couple hours, check out a couple trails, and then drive back to Salt Lake City because I know I needed some rest that night because I was driving up to Grand Tetons the next day. So if you are someone who's interested in going just to the Grand Tetons, there's a Jackson Hole Airport right there. So if you were to fly into Jackson Hole, you can get to Grand Tetons about 10 to 12 miles from there. It's a almost a straight shot from Jackson Hole to Grand Tetons, and there are a lot of great places to eat in Jackson. A lot of great hotels as well. I stayed at the Spring Hill Marriott when I was there. Great hotel, and it was only 15 miles away from Grand Tetons there. So Grand Tetons is probably one of the most unique national parks that I've ever gone to. I started at the Taggart outlet, I mean the Taggart Trailhead, in which from the Taggart Trailhead, I pretty much went to Bradley Lake, went to Lee Lake, and it was a couple other trails that was along the Taggart Trailhead. A lot of good reviews. I mean, a lot of good views there. Most of the most of the outlook there is reflections. So if you were to go to Bradley Lake or Lee Lake, you will see a lot of mountain views with reflections onto the water. Definitely amazing hikes. Nothing there was pretty much hard. Everything was pretty much give or take on the easier side. It may have been one moderate hike, but nothing that was undoable there. So right after that, there I proceeded over to Jenny Lake. Jenny Lake is probably one of the most sight scenic places that I've ever gone to there. So at Jenny Lake Trailhead, of course, you got the view of Jenny Lake, but you can also proceed up to Inspiration Point and Hidden Falls. Hidden Falls is probably one of the best waterfalls that I've seen in my life. It's a towering waterfall, almost from the top of the mountain all the way down. You can, as you're hiking along that trail, you will see a lot of you'll see some you'll see some views of the Hidden Falls as you're proceeding through the the tree line, which is amazing. But as you get to the actually Hidden Falls, it's a very scenic view. I've seen a lot of people actually go and just they bring their kids or someone or other friends there, and they're just dip for 30 minutes to an hour, and then go to other places. Another place another trail I liked when I was there was Inspiration Point. Inspiration Point is pretty much going to be a moderate trail. You have a lot of inclines up there, but it's also another great view. I believe it's either eight, either 8,000 or 9,000. The peaks, and it's amazing. Once you get up top, you do have another scenic view of Jenny Lake. You got a possibility to see a lot of good things from the from the from the views, rather from the mountainside, seeing the Jenny Lake view was another great spot there. Um, After Inspiration Point, I headed back to my car and I proceeded to the Chapel of the Sacred Souls. The Chapel of the Sacred Souls is definitely a unique place as well. It's a chapel in which you can walk in there, you can take pictures on the inside. I don't know if they have services there or anything, but you can pretty much go there and just check out the views of the chapel. Um, but to me, the one of the best things about that is they have a lakeside behind the chapel of the Sacred Souls, and it's an amazing view. There's a huge lake with a mountain view there. Um, and it's not too far off the roadsides there. So if you ever want a nice other view while you're at Grand Tetons, definitely check out the Chapel of the Sacred Souls. You can check the inside of the chapel, but the scenic views from the lake behind it is breathtaking. It's got a lot of colored rocks there and a great crystal clear water there. So that was pretty much my Grand Tetons 2-day trip. I did the Taggart Trailhead, which is Bradley Lake, Lee Lake, and then I did Jenny Lake, Chapel of the Sacred Souls, Inspiration Point, Hidden Falls was pretty much my 2-day itinerary there. I was gonna do the barn, but being that I was already on a 2-week um, hiking expedition, I didn't want to proceed to drive over to the barn. But my next visit there, I will go. All right, so went back to my hotel that night, and the next day, I proceeded to drive to Yellowstone. So Yellowstone is about, if you take the South Gate from during Tetons, it's about 55 to 57 miles there. So when I got to Yellowstone, the first thing that I passed was Yellowstone Lake. But I started everything at the Old Faithful monument. So good thing about the Old Faithful is if you park there, you can hit a lot of trails from there. So I began walking along Old Faithful. It's geysers everywhere at Yellowstone, especially at the Old Faithful location. So got a chance to see probably about 25 to 30 different geysers at the immediate area of the Old Faithful, and then you hike along the upper basin, in which you can, in the West Basin, you can pretty much check out other geysers. So, but my biggest item I wanted to see there was the sapphire pools. It's pretty much a crystal blue geyser. It almost looked like a pool, but if you stare down into it, it's a very deep pool geyser. Very, very scenic. I had a blast checking out that because there was other ones as well. That the gem pool and the abyss pool was also similar in color of the sapphire pool, which was an amazement there. But I will say this: if you go to Yellowstone National Park, if you were someone whose sinuses need to be cleared up, go to Yellowstone. The geyser scent would definitely clear out your sinuses to the point at which it may another week may pass after you left there. You probably still have that scent of geysers in your nostrils there. So after I did Old Faithful, I got a chance to see Old Faithful eruption as well. So when you go to the Old Faithful trailhead, they will have at each geyser, it will tell you the last time it erupted, and if it is going to erupt today, it'll tell you an estimated time and when it will erupt there. So I got a chance to catch the Old Faithful eruption just before I got back to my car. Just know at the Old Faithful geyser spot, they do have benches there. So a lot of benches. So if you can, you have a lot of places to sit down there. So if you're someone who want to see a huge geyser eruption with families and friends, they got a lot of football benches there. So crowds will be there. Other than that, it wasn't it wasn't too much other things to look at the Old Faithful Monument. All right, from there I proceeded to go to the Grand Prismatic, which was an amazing scenery as well. It was also the Elixir something else name, which is a like a baby blue geyser there, a huge, almost like a big huge pool of a geyser. You'll see the fumes coming out like gray clouds, white clouds coming from the geyser. That was an amazing viewpoint as well. As you proceed on that walkway, you proceed to the Grand Prismatic Spring, which was very amazing. Be mindful if you do go there that you don't walk off trail. A couple people walked off trail and some got injured because geysers are pretty much live volcanoes. So a lot of people who went there that sightsee, they got a chance to see a lot of good things. But you had some people who was off the beaten trail and decided to walk on that on those substances and got burned severely. So if you ever go to Yellowstone, and just stay on the trail. The geysers, you can get very up front and personal with all the geysers that's on those trails there. So one thing that I do wish that I did execute when I was there was the Fairy Falls trailhead. I did see the Mystics Fall when I was there. That was a nice, beautiful waterfall. But if you were to take the Fairy Falls trailhead, I believe you'll be able to see the Grand Panoramic from like a higher viewpoint and look down, and that's something that's I've seen the pictures of it because when you're up front and close to it, you can get good videos and good pictures, but seeing it from the top of Fairy Falls trailhead, uh, it's amazing. The pictures I've seen makes me want to go back just to hike up to the Fairy Falls to take a picture of the Grand Panoramic from the top of there. So after after that, I hit up a couple more geyser locations, and then I drove back to my hotel in Jackson there. So because I had a flight the following day to Cozumel to Glacier. So I woke up the next morning, checked out, and drove to the airport and flew out to Cozumel to go to Glacier. So I got there that night, checked into my hotel, and that following first thing in the morning, about 5 o'clock, got up and proceeded to Glacier. So Glacier's my is now my favorite national park. The reason why blue is like my favorite color. As you can tell, I have a blue hat and blue shirt and blue shorts on right now. But the different hues of blue, green, clear waters, the views from mountainsides, Waterfalls Central is at Glacier. So the one thing about Glacier, like most other national parks, you do have to have time entries to get through certain parts of the park. So what I did, I got to the gate about 5 o'clock, and I proceeded to the Going to the Sun Road. The Going to the Sun Road is probably one of the most scenic viewpoints that you will ever see at a national park. Of course, if you're someone who's afraid of heights, going to the Sun Road could put you at your limit because as you're going up the mountainside, the mountain is right on your left hand side. The vehicles have to be a certain size as well. If you have a vehicle that's real big, uh, you won't be permitted to drive on the Golden Sun Road because the roads are very, very narrow there. So as you're going to the Sun Road, to your right are drop offs, and it's pretty much not too many rails on there, so you have to drive very careful and hug those curves as you're going up. They're going to Sun Road. So what I did on initially, I did not take pictures on my way up to going to Sun Road because it was still kind of early in the morning, not quite sunrise yet. So I figured once I did the hiking for a couple hours, then I would on my way back, I would actually take some pictures. So first thing I did when I got up to the very top of going to the Sun Road was I parked at the St. Mary's Fall trailhead. My goal there was to hike the Barren Falls and up at the Sun Point, which is to the left of the trailhead. And then on my way back, which would be to the right of the trailhead, would be Virginia Falls and St. Mary Falls. So as I proceeded up to Sun Point and Barren Falls, it's probably some of the bluest green water that you'll ever see. Um, the mountainside, just how the water reflects off of the water is something very scenic. Um, a lot of different colored rocks, gray rocks, beige rocks, brown rocks, green rocks, all over on the trailhead. So I did take a lot of good pictures um, from those parts. When I got to Sun Point on one of the beachside areas, it was pretty much crystal clear water. There was a deck that was there that I chilled on for a few minutes. And I took a few pictures and a few videos from Sun Point. And then I proceeded to the Barron Falls. Barron Falls is crystal clear waterfall. It was something that was very amazing views there. A lot of different colored rocks there too, and a lot of good scenic viewpoints from there. Uh, it's a great waterfall that's coming from the mountainside too. So, and it comes down at an angle. There's a lot of people that went to Barron Falls. They pretty much just hung out there, let the waterfall hit them, and it was something amazing. So, if you do go into Sun Road, I will start as I did. Just drive up to the St. Mary Falls location and hit those two trails up. So on my way back, the most scenic waterfall, or one of the most scenic waterfalls there, is the St. Mary Waterfalls. So it looks like a turquoise blue color. An amazing waterfall, different layers. A lot of people, when they go to the St. Mary Falls, there is a bridge right there. Oftentimes, people will go and just jump off the bridge into the falls. The water is very, very cold. I think throughout the year it's cold. So, but there are other points of the St. Mary Falls in which you can hike down the rocks and still get close to the water. So, I would just say if you ever go to St. Mary Falls, it's the views are to die for sure. But just be very careful. I read up that someone actually died at St. Mary Falls, I believe last week. Um, I'm not sure what happened. They could have probably just jumped off the bridge and landed wrong, or just I'm not sure what. It's a very safe area to hike. So the only thing that I would think that would cause someone to lose their life there would be jumping off that bridge at the St. Mary Falls. But you got viewpoints from the top of the falls, from the bottom of the falls, and it goes a good little stretch. From there, you can hike up to Virginia Falls. Virginia Falls is pretty much a moderate hike. You do have a lot of inclines to get to the Virginia Falls, but once you get up there, is another amazing waterfall. The waterfall actually comes down from the mountainside, crystal clear falls. A lot of people will go to where the waterfall hits the mountainside and just pose. Um, it's a very steady platform, like it's a rock form, um, pretty much a flat land in front of that waterfall. Probably from what the structures, how it was built there. So Virginia Falls is another great huge waterfall. It towers up from the mountainside, and the water just flows straight down from the mountainside. It's crystal clear water there, and there's a lot of places up there in which you could take good videos, good pictures, and you'll really enjoy that there. So after I proceeded from Virginia Falls and St. Mary's Falls, I proceeded to drive up to the Trail of the Cedars. It was a very nice, cool trail there. I had a chance to see a lot of formations of the trees, the cedar trees, a beautiful waterfall to come down from there. And it's a nice shaded area trail, not too strenuous, fairly easy. A lot of people that go to the Trail of the Cedars Trailhead pretty much go there and just it's a very chill trail. The only downer I had was one of the places I really wanted to see when I got there was Avalanche Lake, and it was I snuck in that trail that day. It was coming up on 5 o'clock, and it was a lot of overcast and clouds, and it was pretty much about to rain. But I wanted to sneak in the trail, and so I did Trail of the Cedars, and then I got a mile away from Avalanche Lake, and the skies just opened up. It rained very, very hard and long. It rained so bad that I had some Sony over ear headphones. it totally destroyed those headphones. I was drenched. It took months for my Sony over ear headphones just to dry due to the amount of rain that hit that during that 20-30 minute stretch. So when I do go back to Glacier, I will go back to probably going straight to Avalanche Lake before first, because that's a place that I heard a lot of people go there to see. Beautiful water. A lot of people jump into Avalanche Lake as well. So I will go back there. My next trip there. Um, After the rain settled, I did proceed down the Golden Sun Road and went to Logan Pass, which I got a chance to see Hidden Lake and a lot of good and a couple more waterfalls there. I did run into a couple mountain goats there, which was pretty nice. Both of the goats I saw were white and very friendly. They didn't harm anyone at all. Hidden Lake has a lot of good scenic views. It can be uphill. I would consider that a moderate hike if you decide to go all the way up top. Once you get to Hidden Lake, you can proceed on another side of Hidden Lake, which is on the upper side of the mountain. It is very a strenuous hike, so if you're not someone that can hike up real high, or you're afraid of heights, that may not be the place for you there. Um, but it's another place that had a nice hidden waterfall there too. To the left, some wildflowers were there, and it was a good place to visit. So it is a place in which you can bring family, friends, or kids on those trails. Some people had toddlers there as well. Also, where Logan Pass is, there are the souvenir store is right there. So if you want to pick up some glacier souvenirs, you can go to that store and pick up some items. I believe I spent probably about $200 or $300 on some maps, some cups, some clothing gear, the usual souvenirs that I normally purchase when I'm on there. So it wasn't too bad there. So I definitely would consider Glacier to be my favorite place um, to hike national park wise because of that. So after after that, I proceeded down the Golden Sun Road, took more pictures, took some more nice videos of the trip down the mountain. Then I proceeded back to my hotel there. So that following day, I flew to South Dakota and went to Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore was an amazing place to visit. And what you may not know about Mount Rushmore, they do have a couple nice trails there, but the history of it is amazing. And it's a lot of history there. They do have a lot of on the trail. They'll have some postings of some history regarding the landmark there. But if you ever have the chance to go to Mount Rushmore, go at nighttime. Like, at least go in the middle of the day, because at nightfall they have a presentation of the history of Mount Rushmore. It's a big PowerPoint presentation. They have an amphitheater there. It's an amazing. It makes you feel special just looking at the history of it. They went over how it was how it was thought of, the person that built it. Also, there they have a lot of good ice cream and snacks there. So if you do need any snacks or something, the restaurant has wonderful ice cream, slushies, and everything there. But the significance of the history of it, at nighttime, they do. Then they also do a military appreciation at the end. So anyone who receive served in the military. They have flag ceremony, so being an um, that warmed my heart. But them honoring everyone who served in the armed forces, being recognized for serving, um, was very. It was a moment that I'll never forget. It was a very priceless moment there. So between the hikes, the ice cream, the slushes, and just knowing the history of it, I felt special. Also, as you're walking into Route Mushmore, they do have every state flag represented as well. And when it was established, so seeing your state flag and seeing when it was established, like it's flag poles going up the middle um, of that sidewalk with every state when it was established. Um, Very amazing. You can take a lot of good pictures. And if you're at the certain spot, you can actually see the. You can actually have a picture of all of the state flags and the monuments of the Mount Rushmore in the background. So it's definitely an amazing place to visit. It'll definitely warm your heart. So if you have the opportunity to go to Mount Rushmore, maybe go near the end of the day so you get a chance to see that PowerPoint presentation of the history because it's it's a one of a lifetime moment, opportunity that I'll never forget. So right after that, I pretty much drove back to my hotel, and then on the next day, I added in Badlands. But one, I want to make one note. You do have I believe the Custer State Park is also there. I heard a lot of good things about it, but I was almost at the tired point of my trip. I was coming up on day 12 and 13, so Custer State Park has a lot of good scenery there as well. So if you want to squeeze in another hike or another park while you're near Mount Rushmore, definitely check out Custer State Park because I will the next time I'm in that area. So after that, I next morning I woke up and drove to the Badlands National Park. It is a well-known city that you'll see signs from going all the way up the highway. I can't remember the name of the city, but it's a city in South Dakota that when people go there, I mean they'll come to just see that city. 'Cause that city is like it's a unique city that got a lot of tourist items. I mean places to visit and landmarks there. So I think it started with a W, but I can't remember the name of it. But Badlands is definitely a nice place to visit. Stone monuments throughout the whole time. Got a chance to see the door trail, the window trail, and I did a couple other trails there. Um, I did want to do that ladder, but I couldn't remember. I saw a couple people do that trail, but I was coming up on day 14 of hiking, and I was pretty much, I didn't have pretty much left, nothing left, because this is what I added to my itinerary a few days before. It really wasn't in the cards, so I hit up a couple trails that looked amazing, and then I proceeded to go back to my hotel, and I went back to work a couple days later. So that was my 2 week trip. So Zion National Park, Grand Canyon, Grand Tetons, Yellowstone, Glacier, Mount Rushmore, and Badlands. So 7 national parks in a 2 week span, pretty much the equivalent of relocating to another park every day or two at a time. And it's a moment that I'll never forget in the rest of my life. So at this point here, that leads me to Colorado. I've been here about a year and a half, but last year I didn't get a chance to do any hiking in Colorado due to my work schedule. So being that I'm accepting a new opportunity and Going to be transferring to California in a few weeks. Maximizing my time here in Colorado. So for the past month and a half, I've been hiking Rocky Mountain National Parks, which I've done that once a week the last 5 weeks. I went to the Brainerd area, which is part of the Roosevelt National Forest. I went there a couple weeks ago, so I'm considering going back to Rocky Mountain National Park tomorrow to do Adams Falls and the Cascade Falls. They're both part of the East Inlet Trailhead, so that's probably going to be on my agenda tomorrow. Because you know, I love chasing waterfalls. I love nature. I love seeing different bodies of water, and I get to see all that there. So I'm very excited about what's on my agenda. Not only as I close out here in Colorado, but finally living in Cali. That's been my goal most of my life. I wanted to get to California at some point. Being a Niner fan, I'm there mostly during football season, but that's a place that I've always wanted to live. So me being able to relocate to California in the next few weeks is going to be amazing. It's going to give me the ability to check off a few more national parks in Cali, such as Death Valley, Kings Canyons, the volcanic national park, Channels, Joshua Tree. So I'm excited about what's in the future for me. And if you don't know, I've had this YouTube channel for years, but I didn't start uploading it until May 19th. This is my first time doing a live as well. But I want to tell everyone that's subscribed to my channel, has commented so far, and liked my posts. Um, Thank you so much. I really appreciate you stopping by, showing that support, encouragement to keep doing what I'm doing, and it's just good to know that the content that I'm sharing, everyone likes. I do know it takes a special person to like different things. So with me being now someone that likes hiking, I like nature. So me being able to post my hikes, um, it's amazing. I've been hiking and sightseeing for over 20 years, and I've done my best to upload max uploading material for the past month and a half, just to ensure that I can provide some good content to everyone that's stopping by the channel. So again, everyone, I really appreciate you um, taking your time to even check out this live. It's been an honor to share my experiences with the world, being able to give back and share places that if you are not, share places that if you don't have the ability to go to, you can at least live that moment through my moment. So it's been um, it's been a good ride so far here. I'm definitely gonna prepare all my items today, my packing gear, to prepare for tomorrow's hike at the East Inlet. I'm expecting it to be fun there at the Adams Falls and Cascade Falls. I may sneak in a couple more trails. I did see there's a few more waterfalls there along those trailheads. So it's gonna be some good times tomorrow. So I will, as you know, every time I go hiking, I do post. I do begin posting later on in the evening. It's been it's a nice cool day out here today as well. So I will definitely prepare for tomorrow. It's going to be again another good day of hiking at the East Inlet Trails, at the Adams Falls, the Cascade Falls, and I'm gonna try to get in a couple more hikes while I'm there, and then maybe within a week or two, if the snow has melted, I'll go back to Chasm to advance that hike because when I went there 3 weeks ago, I got within a mile of the trail. I mean, a mile of Chasm Falls, and the river, or the Chasm Lake was right above the two snowfields, and because those two snowfields are very slippery and slick, um, hikers like myself got to that point and just turned around at the waterfall because a lot of people kept slipping down those trailheads, those snowfields, whether they had spikes or poles or not, they still kept slipping and some almost fell. So one thing I would say with anyone who hikes, make sure when you go hiking, make sure you have all your materials with you. When I go hiking, I have a standard hiking package I take. Bring my Sony over ear headphones. I have me a dry fit Nike hat, a dry fit Nike shirt, um, some Nike shorts or joggers. Because if it's first thing in the morning, I may have on Nike joggers and then my Nike Wild Horse hiking shoes. Um, just off a comfort level, but also make sure you have a good amount of water supplies as well. I do have a 3 liter Camelback that I always bring with me that I put in my backpack. It's a backpack Camelback. I normally put 60% water and then, I mean, 40% water and 60% ice. That way, if it's real hot outside, I'll have a cooler water as the heat goes on for the rest of the day. Then I have my power bank with different cords to charge up my iPod, charge up my iPad, and my phone. I do have another one of my old phones I use for music. That way I don't have to use my regular phone for music and pictures. So that's pretty much what I bring. So my headphones, my iPad, my iPod, both of my phones, my Camelback, and socks, spare socks, and a short towel or something. So I believe I've done a total of 15 national parks so far. Outside of national parks, I've gone to 25 countries to sightsee for vacation. The last place that I went on vacation was Brazil. I went to Rio for my birthday last December, and I normally do a birthday trip every year as it relates to it. So in life, just make sure you have a good work-life balance. Whatever you enjoy in life, don't work so hard in which you don't get a chance to enjoy the life that you have. It took me nearly 20 plus years to realize that. Just know if you have a job and you're working, they'll be able to maintain the workflow while you're on vacation. So happy trails, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to my live. If you have any suggestions for me as far as places to hike in Colorado, let me know. If you do want to support my channel, I do have a Cash App. I would list that in my description. If you are not following me, I am Byron Parker. My tag on YouTube is Traveling with Promise. Just traveling with two L's. I'm also on Instagram as well. Same tag, Traveling with Promise with two L's. So happy trails, Godspeed, and until next time, hang in there.